We will now continue with the plenary panel entitled Ukrainian Mine Action Strategy Implementation, Progress, Challenges and Opportunities. And I'm very pleased to hand over the floor to the moderator of this panel, Mr. Rory Logan, Head of Strategies, Performance and Impact at the Geneva International Center for Humanitarian Demining. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to our conference today. We're moving on from yesterday's discussions, where we heard more about the strategic frameworks that have been set at the political level, how Ukraine has put in place a 10-year strategy to deal with the explosive problem, and how they have developed that strategy in an inclusive manner in order to ensure buy-in from all of their partners and other stakeholders. Today, the focus is going to be a little more technical. We're going to be looking at how that framework translates into practical action in the field. And in order to do that with us, we've got a group of panelists representing government institutions, the UN, INGO, and local operators. Using the strategy and implementation plan as the frame, we're going to speak about their views on progress that's been made and the challenges they face, opportunities they face during their day-to-day work. If there is time at the end, we will go through a facilitated Q&A from the floor. But we'll see how we get on. So could I please ask the panelists to come and take their seats? I'll be introducing them one by one as they get up to speak. Thank you. So, first speaking, we have Mr. Igor Beskovany. Igor is the Deputy Minister of Economy for Ukraine. He'll be providing a short presentation to remind us about the strategic framework, provide a little bit more detail than we heard yesterday, and speak a bit about the different roles and functions of the various government institutions. Igor, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. And probably, we have presentation, but I did not see it. And I hoped I will use it. Okay, let's try. If we're talking about mine action strategy, and if we're talking about that bright, big numbers, when we talked about that yesterday, we talked about, I saw, perfect. When we're talking about strategy and that bright numbers, 10 years, 80%, what it means inside of that document, and I will try to explain a little bit more how it will work, how we see it like in a technical level. And yes, first of all, our 3 strategic goals, it's returning land to productive use, 80% for 10 years. Second one is protecting people, because people first word in our people progress and partners, partners progress, but people is first. And development of our mine action system, our mine action capacity, because we need to make our system stronger and a little bit efficiency. When we're talking about concrete numbers, and when we're talking about our action plan for our strategy, it's 68 concrete tasks with 28 responsible bodies. It means we have concrete ministries, agencies, or responsible bodies who will work to achieve the goals. And when we're talking about strategy and role of Ministry of Economy in that process, we're not talking about strategy just in some panel discussion, some event, some conference. We are inside of that process, and 20 concrete task. It's our task. We should achieve our goals in that means. And when we're talking about main part, it's returning our land to productive use. It's the biggest part, but it's not mean that protecting and development system, it's not important for us. It's just because another bodies responsible for the topic. When we're talking about protecting people in Ukraine for that, in the biggest part, response for Ministry of Social Policy, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and so on. When we will move like deeper to strategy, we can like separate all process for different stages of that process. When we're talking about returning land to productive use, we're cutting that process for few stages. And first of all, for us, most important, it's identification of problem, non-technical survey. It's a first stage, and after non-technical survey, we will understand how actually what size of problem when we're talking about concrete clearance and what level of hazards on that area. But we can talk about ending that process seriously before our victory and before ending of hostilities in Ukraine. After identification, we're talking about prioritization, because we will understand we will have a lot of hazards areas, and I'm not sure that we will have capacity to solve the problem at the same time, at the same place. We'll need a lot of capacity, and actually some areas probably we will need to make clear, but we will need to make that area safe and clear and safe, and not direct connected understanding. And yes, of course, after prioritization, we will make clearance, a different type of clearance, using traditional method, using innovative approach, maybe some approach and method. It's not existing in worldwide mine action system, but it's developing right now in Ukraine. But when we're talking about reducing the impact on lives and health and Ukrainian citizens, it means we should work not just for clearance. We will have area where will like impossible make clearance super faster, and our part of like main responsibility for us, it will be marking that area and work with populations that area, make theory, education, training, change behaviors, and so on, so on, so on, so on. Also, when we're talking about reducing impact, we should talk about soils and how we will work with areas that will free from unexploded ordnance, but at the same time, we will need to find some approach how we will recultivate that area, how we will work with that soil, how we will what we will grow in that area, how we will use this free from mines big plots or some different areas, but again we should create that plan of restoration, concrete soils and concrete step for that, and development of mine action management system. Mine action management system wasn't ready to full-scale invasion. It's not some unique. Nobody wasn't ready for that. And together with Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior Affairs, different government stakeholders and international stakeholders, we try to manage and find some best solution how we will work efficiency. Because right now we're doing that efficient. but it's connected for concrete personality. In the Ministry of Defense, it's Ruslan. In the Ministry of Internal Affairs, it's Bogdan, leading in that process. It's Yulia, but it's personality. We should move from personality to some ecosystem, how it will work, and best way to be like autonomous. And next slide, it's our strategy and our action plan. And I want to ask you, scan that QR code, and it will connect it to next slide. Oh, probably I will tell about idea why we it's doing. After that, return for QR code. It's a way how we want ask you to connect to our action plan. And it's pretty simple. You find some part of our action plan, what interesting for you, for your government, for your agency, for your donor, or something else. And securing a partner in Ukraine, because all tasks we have concrete responsible bodies. And after that, meet with that future partners, or if it's not working, ask Ministry of Economy. We will help you for that, and launch that project that you're that interesting for you. And how it's working right now, we're working in that scheme with different agencies, with UNDP, JCHD. We're working together with mine action operators on the topic. And that means not just for clearance when I'm talking about mine action operator. If we will concrete example, if we're talking, for example, our cooperation with Hello, we try to build some system where we will make try to find the right words. We named in our inside team confidence building. When we will create some system when the sense that area safety and one more quality control approach. When we're talking about DRC, like operator of humanitarian demining, also we try to find some idea how we will start comprehensive approach to restoring and renovation big areas, not just cleaning for cleaning, but cleaning for development. And we will try together make it project in the Mykolaiv region. Also with UNDP and JCHD, we're working on development new approach, how we can use drones, satellite images, some new technology, and so on. It's working right now, and I hope we will have more and more partners who will join us in that concrete plan. Thank you. Oh, no.
Thank you very much, Igor, for that comprehensive overview. I think it was a really good way of marking how this strategy really is a whole of government approach. I mean, if you've got 29 responsible agencies, different responsible agencies, looking at the number of tasks that you've got, it really demonstrates how there is a legitimate way for different partners and stakeholders to interact with different parts of government within the strategic framework. And it's also great to hear that there's a recognition that Ukraine is adapting to the new reality post full-scale invasion. So thank you very much for that. Our next speaker, Colonel Ruslan Berehulia, is head of the National Mine Action Authority Secretariat. Ruslan is going to be talking about the progress that Ukraine has already made and some of the plans for implementation of the strategy over the next 3 years. I should note that Ruslan will be making his presentation in Ukrainian, so please do use your headsets if you don't speak Ukrainian. Over to you, Ruslan.
Дякую, пане Рорі.
Thank you.
Доброго ранку, шановні
Rory,
присутні.
and good morning.
Дякую можливості бути тут і виступати
distinguished
перед вами,
guests. Thank you
мати
for the
можливість спілкуватися з
opportunity
вами.
to be
Ну,
here.
як вже
Thank you
зазначив
that
пан
you've given
Ігор
me the
Безкарвайний,
floor to
національна стратегія,
present.
вона
And it
ґрунтується
has
на
already
трьох
been
основних
presented. Our
стратегічних
national
цілях. І сьогодні
strategy is based on
вже
three
розпочата
main
реалізація
objectives.
якраз
And we
першого
have
етапу
already started
шляхом
to implement
імплементації
the
операційного
first
плану
phase,
на
and that's the operational plan
24-26
for
роки.
2024-2026.
Даний операційний план,
And
він
this operational
реалізовується
plan
спільно
is
з
being
усіма членами
implemented
національного
together
органу з питань
with
протимінної діяльності.
all the members of
Я
the
хочу коротко
main
зараз
department for mine action.
представити інформацію, які
And I
зроблені
also
кроки в
would
цьому
like to
напрямку.
present you the
Як
steps that we've already taken with
повторитися,
regard to
що
this
сказала
operational
пані
plan.
віце-прем'єр,
As it's
що,
already been stated
ризики
yesterday
від вибуху
by
небезпечних предметів сьогодні
our,
впливають на життя понад 6
Deputy
мільйонів
Prime
українців.
Minister.
І так тільки на деокупованих
It's
територіях
obvious that
секретаріат
mine
національного органу
and mining affects all of the people in Ukraine. Already up to date, there has been recorded 727 incidents. Out of them, 736 persons were injured, and out of them, 300 dead and 16 children. 75% of all of these incidents, they're all related to landmines. And the most heavily mined territories in Ukraine as of today are Mykolaiv, Kherson, and Kharkiv region. And altogether, we are talking that 50% of all of those losses and incidents took place in these regions. With regard to all the other contaminated areas, we will be able to assess them only once they are liberated. As up today, we have already set up a special National Mine Action Authority, and we've developed necessary and relevant policy, and our national standards are in place, and we have developed them in consideration of IMS recommendations and best practices in mine action. And speaking of the objectives of this strategy, we've already started implementing it, and our operational plan for 2024 and 2026. In particular, our Mine Action Secretariat has already planned the actions for the next year, and our next action is the primary non-technical survey. In the framework of this NTS, we have already been able to identify nearly 4,000 hazard area spots, and altogether that all amounts to over 500 square kilometers, and obviously that area will only be increasing. Besides, as up to date, we've already been able to demine nearly 30 square kilometers and have finished conducting quality control on the territory of about 13 square kilometers. In addition, we have already issued various kinds of quality control certificates, up to about 90 certificates covering the territory of nearly 4 square kilometers. And I understand this is not a very significant area, or may seem not like a significant area. And yet this is already important, and we understand that the amount of the demined territories will only be increasing. I also would like to emphasize that during the non-technical survey, we've indicated 32,000 square kilometers as out of suspicion, which means that's the territory which didn't show any evidence of risk, and obviously that allowed us to have demined and non-contaminated area. Besides, yesterday, Mrs. Sviridenko also mentioned that we have 56 mine action operators working in Ukraine, but yesterday another one was added. So altogether, as of today, we have 57 mine action operators who are certified. And we also have 12 government units, and altogether that comes up to nearly 2,500 people involved in the mine action and 36 detector dogs. Besides, when we talk about the explosive ordnance device units, we have already involved a large number of various groups. Specifically, we are working with 421 groups, such as groups from the armed forces of Ukraine, from the Special Transport of Ukraine, and also Emergency Service of Ukraine, National Police of Ukraine. So altogether, that comes up to 2,000 people. And with all of these various governmental units, we've been able to survey 5,293 square kilometers. Besides, all of these units have already demined nearly 84 square kilometers of the water and aquatic area, and also additionally over 9,000 roadways and trail trucks, besides also electricity and pipeline, and besides they've demined nearly 850,000 explosive ordnances, which they indicated and destroyed. So this national mine action strategy will allow not only to increase efficiency and effectiveness with regard to the use of demining devices, but at the same time it also allow to engage military personnel who are not able to be engaged in the combat missions. At the same time, we also will be able to work with the civilians who are unemployed, and this would allow them to have new job opportunities. Another positive impact on the economy with regard to the national mine action strategy is such that our national industry can be producing demining devices. And also, as we increase the demined areas, we would be able to return people to those regions who have suffered from mining, and obviously we can return our land to being used productively. In addition, I also would like to note that aggression of the Russian Federation slows down any of the processes, and it does demand and requires us to be very flexible, because we are always aware of risks. And when we speak of the operational plan, then I also would like to bring to your attention various directions in which we implement it. First of all, we always have to be aware of the security restrictions, which means that as of now, we operate within 20 kilometers of the line of combat contact line and the state border. Besides, we also have certain resources limitations. That means we have to find new ways of humanitarian demining. And in addition to that, we also have to carry out monitoring of territories which we thought should have not been mined. And we've conducted a large number of non-technical survey. And up to now, we've also carried out various humanitarian demining actions, and we make sure that also there is an internal quality control in place, and also there is external quality control with regard to various operators. And we make sure that there are no remaining risks on the demined territories. And all of these activities are being regulated by the national standards, and also they're all up to date. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Colonel Berihue, for giving us an overview of some of the very significant progress already being made. I think it's very telling from your analysis that 75% of the incidents you're recording are actually as a consequence of landmines, which is why there's such an important strategy in the first place. I do think it's also interesting to see that you've started to analyze at the oblast level where the most impact is from that perspective, from the sort of humanitarian life-saving perspective as well. Very pleased that the action plan you're envisaging is focusing on primary NTS, so that the first stage of the survey, and I think that implicitly recognizes that the survey process will be ongoing, and it will have to be further refined as more information comes to light. I mean, some of the numbers there just really reflects the true scope of this problem. When you're talking about 32,000 square kilometers as area that's been removed from suspicion, I mean, put into context, there are countries not that big. That's about 3 times the size of Lebanon, and that's been done in the past year. So that's great progress, and always great to see that the reflection on how veterans and unemployed people can be brought into the sector to give them a livelihood whilst they support the country. So thank you so much.
If I may,
yes, please.
If I may, a few words. When we're talking about 30,000 square kilometers that was returned and was not dangerous, it not means that is not have a lot of work in that areas, because non-technical survey it's also part of humanitarian demining, and it's probably its most important part. And when we compare numbers, 30,000 square kilometers and 25 kilometers that was clear, it's not means that 25 kilometers is a small number. It's totally different number. But in general, when we're talking about non-technical survey, clearance, fast reaction from government units like CES, SSTS, National Police, and so on. In total, we have that big numbers and big progress that Ukraine, together with partners, made for last year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Igor, for covering that. But yeah, I mean, the main point I think here is they're all huge numbers. Every number there is not something we've really seen in other contexts. That the scale of the problem in Ukraine is just massive and unprecedented. So thank you to both our government representatives. We're now going to go to some of the panelists working for organizations that actually implement the strategy or support the implementation of the strategy. I'm going to ask the same question of all of you and ask if you could please start with a brief overview of how your organization contributes to the implementation of the national strategy and its implementation plan. I'm first going to hand over the floor to the representative of the World Food Programme, an organization which has perhaps not traditionally been involved in the demining space, but we'll hear why that is the case in Ukraine. Richard Reagan is the country director for WFP. He's a veteran serviceman for WFP, having run and led 8 different programs as country director over the past 25 years. And prior to that, he was a national security advisor for the US State Department. Richard, over to you.
Thanks, Roy. Well, maybe first let me start off with echoing what the State Secretary mentioned in his opening remarks, which is really about partners. We wouldn't be in this space without strong partners. First and foremost is the government of Ukraine. Second is our sister agency, the Food and Agriculture Organization, sister UN agency, and then Foundation Suisse de Déminage. we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without those strong partnerships. I'm a little bit remiss to do this in Switzerland, but I have an Apple Watch on here. And since we started this conference, I've had 21 air alerts on this watch. So that's the context that's happening in Ukraine today. While we in WFP might be less familiar with the intricacies of mine action, we do have a long record in humanitarianism. Relationships, they don't want to leave their homes, they don't want to leave their pets. When I meet kids in school, they want to play with their friends, they want to run around, they want to fight over who gets to be Messi or who gets to be Ronaldo. Instead, these kids are being forced to literally go to school underground. It's like nothing I've ever seen in my experience of this work. And at the same time, we see people starving to death around the world that WFP is dealing with: Mali, Palestine, South Sudan, Sudan. We have huge hunger challenges in Central African Republic, Chad, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Lebanon, Malawi, Syria, Yemen, Zambia, Zimbabwe, to name a few. For those of you who are really eagle-eyed, you'll recognize that these are countries that have benefited from the Grain for Ukraine initiative, which is something that President Zelensky started in 2023 in partnership with the World Food Program, and with funding that many of you in this room have supported. It's enabled us to export over 250,000 metric tons of food to people in need. Many of you are familiar with the Black Sea Grain Initiative, the opening up of the Black Sea. During the whole time that this war has been going on, the World Food Program has also been able to export over 1 million tons that we've purchased commercially for programs around the world. So the system can work. The scale of suffering around the world is nothing like I've seen in my decades of humanitarian work. And, we have an extraordinary opportunity in the demining space in Ukraine. And the very first goal is the National Mine Action Strategy, which the Deputy Minister introduced. And it's to release territories from explosive ordnance so that the lands can be used safely and productively. And the faster that happens, the faster the World Food Program can exit Ukraine. We weren't in Ukraine before the full-scale invasion in 2022. We had a small program. We came in 2015. We left in 2018. But it's very unlikely that we would stay very long beyond a peace process, with the exception of maybe doing humanitarian demining. Ukraine was the 7th largest exporter of wheat in the world before the conflict, the 4th largest exporter of barley, the biggest exporter of sunflower products. So we can't fail here. It affects you and your constituents when they buy groceries. It has a very direct impact on not just the Ukrainians, but the world. I'm a retired old mountain climber, so I oftentimes think of things in terms of mountains. And, you know, when you're climbing a mountain, you know, you face a crevasse or a cliff, you know, the obstacle can be overwhelming. And when you listen to the colonel's presentation and to the deputy minister's presentation, it does seem very overwhelming. But we have no choice. We have to find a way forward, either up, down, or through it. The way to do this is really through efficient and effective demining work with generous funding. I think we all in this room know this is not going to be cheap. This is not an altruistic pledge. This is important. It impacts the entire globe. It's in the strategic interest of everyone in this room to see this happen. Ukraine will likely soon be running low on food to export. As I said, this is going to affect us if we don't get this right. So in addition to ending the conflict, the only way we can really deal with Ukraine's limited production capacity is to demine like there's no tomorrow. WFP, FAO, and FSD have surveyed over 42,000 hectares of agricultural land. We've marked 2,500 hectares and declared 1,500 hectares free from explosive ordnance through non-technical surveys. We've provided around $3.8 million in assistance to support agricultural production. We've supported over 3,000 families and 50 farmers have benefited. These aren't huge numbers compared to the scale of the problem, but the longest journeys have to start with a small step. My colleagues on this panel are much more able to talk about the technical details of what's happening on the ground. But I really want to give a final word of solidarity to the government of Ukraine. They're positive, diligent partners. It's their country. It's their home, their people. Hunger haunts Ukraine's past and it stalks its present today. And we can't allow it to be Ukraine's future. Demining has made so far limited but important progress. And now we really have to stop talking about it and start acting. So thanks.
Richard, thank you so much for that intervention and for really taking us all the way from people suffering from the air alerts, the elderly people you mentioned who are too afraid or don't want to leave, children working in bunkers, all the way up to how Ukraine's national strategy actually has a much more global impact and is important for the whole world. Really thank you very much for that. Handing over to our next speaker, Hélène Kupperman. She's head of Europe for the Mines Advisory Group. MAG, Mines Advisory Group, is a large operator that's been around since 1989, is accredited to operate in Ukraine and established a program there around 2 years ago. Hélène, over to you.
Thank you, Rory. Good morning, everyone, excellencies, valued partners, and esteemed colleagues. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and an honor to present MAG's contribution in supporting the Ukrainian Mine Action Strategy. We are one of the 57 now certified operators in Ukraine. And as highlighted on the very first day of the conference, this Mine Action Strategy is a commitment, our collective commitment and testimony to humanity and to our coordinated approach for Ukraine's success, recovery, and reconstruction. Mines Advisory Group is a leading global humanitarian mine action organization. Our organization is dedicated to saving lives, easing suffering, and enabling sustainable development by addressing the devastating consequences of armed violence and wars. We have over 6,000 staff around the globe. We work in over 40 countries, and we have a proven track record of delivering life-saving mine action services around the world. We are privileged and honored to be working with the Ukrainian government and our valued and dear partners. Our contribution to the mine action strategy is foremost contributing to the objective one, getting back land into productive use as fast and as efficiently as possible. We are working to identify and prioritize contaminated area. We've heard from the Colonel, from Deputy Minister. We're talking about a scale of contamination that we've never seen before, and we are working around the clock to address it. Efficiently targeting clearance efforts is what is needed to maximize our impact, because what matters most is that access to safe land is enabled as quickly as possible. We can optimize clearance efforts and ensure that resources are allocated effectively and confidently. So we work today with leveraging a toolbox approach to mine action consisting of traditional mine action tools such as manual clearance, risk education, technical and non-technical survey, and efficient mechanical assets use, as well as more innovative pilot projects such as technical survey dogs. We build capacity of women and men in EOD qualifications and developing tailored standards of operations for non-technical and technical survey, with a criteria currently prevailing that evidence of conflict leads to contamination or potential contamination. Estimated contaminated areas rapidly reach large areas, whereas the reality is probably more granular. So increasing our focus on analysis and understanding the contamination of deoccupied territories, contributing to implementing criteria for cancellation with new standards adopted in June is what we will prioritize. Secondly, saving lives in our mandate at the forefront of what we do. From the initial start of our mine action operations, MAG has implemented risk education, delivering life-saving messages. Those messages are developed to address the different specificities of diverse affected groups and ensure every individual has access to life-saving messages and awareness raising. From large-scale digital campaigns that we've deployed in the metro in Kyiv and Kharkiv, for example, to individual sessions to the most remote and affected communities. You have to be flexible, to adapt and be creative to make sure that those life-saving messages reach out every men, women, boys and girls affected by explosive ordnance. Colonel, you gave that number of over 6 million directly affected as of today. For example, in Mykolaiv, we frequently overnight and make sure that our team reaches the most hard to reach and remote people and communities that have not reached previously, and making sure we're not missing and leaving anyone behind. We've delivered online explosive risk education sessions for children who can't attend school anymore. And we're exploring modalities to provide further online explosive risk educations in other hard-to-reach areas and ensure those life-saving messages are reaching every affected women, men, boys, and girls. We've also adapted and making sure we target the most affected by delivering sessions in workplace, in businesses, in factories, in agricultural college, and in farming school, targeting people at higher risk of accidents. In Kharkiv region, we're responding to restrictions, for example, on large congregation of people by adapting our approach and delivering door-to-door sessions to small groups, ensuring again that all members of the community are reached, no matter how remote or vulnerable. Another important focus of our work in support to the mine action strategy is on adherence to norms and standards and making sure they stay relevant. We emphasize the importance of adhering to internationally recognized norms and standards in mine action, following established protocols to enhance credibility, confidence, and efficiency in the land release process. Building confidence among all stakeholders to the communities is paramount. We advocate for the development and adoption of relevant and tailored standards that meet the specific needs of Ukraine. It means being responsive to progress and innovation, and Ukraine is leading in that direction. We seek to contribute to the developing and updating of national norms and developing standards of operations for the diverse land release methodologies, and, for example, progressing towards national norms on the use of manned mechanical assets for HMA. Mine action has evolved, continues to evolve, and we contribute to that evolution. We are committed to leveraging innovation to improve efficiency and effectiveness of mine action. Innovation is crucial, and equally important is leveraging existing tools. Our experience make us privileged to see how we can adapt proven methodologies, how we can then take them further to respond to the specific needs of the contamination in Ukraine. We believe in a balanced approach that combines proven methods and innovative solutions. We believe that it's not only about developing new technologies, but effectively utilizing and tailoring existing tools and approaches, opening space for operations that are relevant to the Ukrainian situation. Ukraine offers solutions that can change global approaches to mine action. With MEC assets in development offering value for money, international operators are ready to support. MAG stands ready for testing and conducting analysis of performance, ensuring confidence building in the land release process and in the methodology applied. Finally, partnership is at the basis and foundation of our work. MAG fosters strong partnerships with Ukrainian authorities, local organizations, and international stakeholders to ensure that our efforts are aligned with national priorities and contribute to building sustainable capacities. We prioritize joint approaches. We've seen the continuum of action that we are implementing currently with WFP, FAO, supporting civilians, rendering safe land, and providing a continuum of support for the people that need it most. We support local leadership, prioritization of tasking to deliver support where it is needed first, and where we can leverage the maximum impact, and capacity development to ensure long-term sustainability. It's not only about what MAG can do, it's what MAG can contribute to for the long term, building capacities. Working closely with local partners, we can deliver more impactful and sustainable mine action programs. There, we apply what I like to talk, the feedback loop process in our partnership approach. Our experience feeds into the research, exploring creative approach, and further strengthening the capacities already existing, and making sure we progress in tailoring the response. The people was one of the three main thematic, and I will conclude on that, are the most important. We have a diverse and inclusive workforce. They are our strengths. They are the future. The women We've seen Nadia yesterday. There are plenty of them. They're fantastic. And they made up our fantastic teams on the team alongside the men and everyone working in our teams. Leveraging diverse sources of recruitment has enabled MAG to increase by 114% our workforce in just 1 year. And we're still continuing to recruit as the needs are enormous. A trained and retained workforce is not only for MAG to implement operation today and to support our partner today, it's for Ukraine capacity tomorrow. It's our contribution for the long term. From the onset of our work, we are committed to support Ukraine government, and we are well positioned to make significant contribution for the people, saving lives, for our partners to be relevant, to be efficient, and for sustainable progress. Thank you.
Hélène, thank you so much for that overview of how your organization is contributing. I mean, I just see so many of the actions and tasks in the operational plan coming out of what you've just said, from the sort of toolbox approach to work out how to provide confidence in the land release process, innovation really running all the way through, and not just new technology. I'm not sure anyone would consider dogs new technology, but you're working out new ways to use them, ways of ensuring that they're more effective and efficient. That the focus on risk education, educating the population about the dangers to help save them against the risk that's posed by the contamination in their communities, and certainly the fact that you're using diverse teams, female empowerment, that these are all things that come through very strongly in the strategy and the implementation plan. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand the floor over to our final speaker, last but not least, Timur Pristria. He's the head of the Ukrainian Deminers Association. This is a national organization that's accredited, actually accredited before the full-scale invasion. I think perhaps one of the oldest national operators that's been in place since 2018, but has obviously significantly scaled its operations up after 2022. Timur, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, because Rory is very strict moderator, I will be short as a cannon shot and very fast follow up with my paper. So I think it's not a secret that mine action operator plays a main role in the implementation of the overall strategy. Mine action operator, like a soldiers in the war, we can talk a lot about command system, command and control system, legislation, mine actions legislation, innovation, etc. But in fact, soldiers conduct the war. In fact, mine action operator conduct humanitarian demining and other activities. Not surprisingly, that national operators are key to success in Ukrainian mine action strategy. Of course, the international community help us, but who, if not us, should be main executor of Ukrainian mine action strategy? Who should liberate the last explosive ordnance from Ukrainian territory? So now I am talking about national mine action operators and our direct link to the mine action strategy. And few words about organization which I am represent here. So the largest Ukrainian mine action NGO, Ukrainian Deminer Association, or UDA, and the first certified Ukrainian mine action operator, Deminer Solutions. Both organisms are developing in their own separate way, but with one goal, to make Ukraine safe together. And it's not just good phrase. So we can justify every word in this motto. And for example, if we say together, it means that we are open for everyone who came to Ukraine to help Ukrainians. In addition to direct implementation of tasks in mine action, the main focus of both organizations is the building operators' capacity and potential. And here, I have to say thank you to all our international partners and donors. Looking at our crazy jump in development as a mine action operator, if compare 2018, the year when we established, 2022, when we scale up our activities, and current year, we can see a huge progress. In 2024, we expanded our non-technical survey capacity, I can say, in 2 times. Just kindly remind you that it was one of the main tasks for operators conduct non-technical survey, which is logical because without this process, we cannot proceed further with clearance procedure and other demanding activities. But again, non-technical survey doesn't give us land release. Moreover, according to the old version of the mine action standard, there was no possibility to provide re-entries. Consequently, we cannot make a cancellation for the land which already free from explosive objects. Now I am happy to inform you that in the second half of the year, we have started the mostly concentrated on manual and battle area clearance. And hopefully in 2025, a lot of land will be released and back to normal life. The national mine action standard was changed, and now we will have the possibility to provide re-entries. I give you one secret. UDA already applied to one donor, US State Department. We put idea for re-entries, which should give huge result of cancellation, and it has direct link to mine action strategy of Ukraine. Another good example of the implementation of the strategy is to provide activity in gender-responsive way. And this year, UDA increased this activity. With help of the government of Canada and our partner Mark, we started leadership program for females. As a result, currently UDA gender disaggregation is 40% female and 60 relatively male. In particular, 20% of UDA deminers are female. Just last week, 10 UDA female deminers successfully passed the course, the EUD3 course, and they will be promoted to common position like team leader, deputy supervisor, even engineer quality control. In 2024, according to the data of UN Protection Cluster Activity Info and Information Management System of Mine Action, UDA is the most active operator for delivering face-to-face EORE sessions. As of 30th of September, we have already covered around 146,000 beneficiaries. Close to the end of this year, we reach around 200,000 conflict-affected people. In 2024, UDA MVA Mine Victim Assistance Program also increased 2 times. For this year, we help with cash assistance more than 1,300 people suffered from explosive objects. But now I am talking about the challenges which national operators face and identify many of them. As Colonel Bergula kindly remind us, we are working during a full-scale war. Safety and security directly impact on our operations. I think it's obvious and doesn't need to explain. But it's not only about safety and security, it is also about logistics, administration, which is very difficult to provide in such circumstances. Finding in proper accommodation for the miners, it's not easy. Send non-technical survey report when you have no electricity, blackout, it's not easy. Just one example. In some particular cases, mine deminers live in Kryvyi Rih, which is Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, to work in Kherson Oblast, for example, in Vysokopilska Gromada. And it's all every day, 2 times at least they travel, it's fuel, it's resources, it's risky. Second, lack of funds to support Ukrainian mine action operators. I think you can calculate it better than me. How many funds are you allocated directly to Ukrainian operators? For example, UDA always struggle to find donors to have sustainable and comprehensive project for a long or at least medium period. In humanitarian demining, what you can do with short project? What can be your outcome if you have a budget just for one non-technical survey team or clearance team? How you can increase your capacity to implement the mine action strategy? One more challenge related to explosive ordnance risk education. Most of UDA EORE project are going to be finished at the end of this year. And I don't see really intentions of the donor and partner to fund EORE activities very actively in 2025. I also hear that EORE activities are not prioritized by donor in 2025. Maybe someone think that if operator provide EORE session in 2022, in 2023 for some particular school, it's enough for people to change their behavior to save. Not. It's not working my action at all. EORE, it's not about dissemination of information, it's about education, and we should repeat and repeat this information. Moreover, some think that only the occupied territory of Ukraine needs EORE. If you look at data of mine incidents, you will see that all Ukrainians need to receive EORE session. We receive a lot of requests from central and western part of Ukraine. We receive a lot of requests from IDPs who live there and from time to time back to the occupied territory. Humanitarian actors who have a business trip to the east and south of Ukraine, media, and so on and so on. The same situation with our mine victim assistance program. More than 2,500 people have already registered in UDA database who suffered and received mine explosive injury. We help, as I mentioned, about 1,800 people, but our help should not end there. MVA is not one-time help. Moreover, 700 people from our list are waiting for the help, and unfortunately, the list will only grow. But now, I would like to conclude with positive remarks. We have huge progress in mine action in Ukraine. We have strong and good leadership of Ukraine state bodies. Through awareness and information campaign, we minimize a lot of problems, for example, with black sappers. And I really believe that we will reach the target of mine action strategy, and we will liberate from explosive ordnance remnants of war of 80% of the deoccupied territory which we have access to work and up to 10 years. I hope that in Japan, I can report it our huge progress in 2025. Thank you.
Timur, thank you so much, including for keeping exactly for time. That was perfect. Good man. I mean, I think, again, really running through your presentation is your intervention, this idea of Ukrainianization and nationalization that runs all the way through the strategy, building the capacities, recognizing the huge potential of organizations and operators that already exist or are starting up operations in Ukraine, and working out ways to try and solve this problem to help give them a kickstart so that they can generate the market for the future. Thank you so much for that. And thank you to all of our speakers. We do have a few minutes left. Before I move to questions, I understand that there is one intervention to be made from the floor. I mean, everyone we've heard from today is very much focused on field operations, but there are, of course, other elements of the strategy. And so I'd like to give the microphone to Mr. Stefan Jensen, who's the country director for the Tony Blair Institute. They're not an accredited operator, but they are engaging in mine action to support the government. And Stefan's going to give an overview of how that's going on.
Thank you so much, Rory. First of all, I just want to express incredible gratitude for the privilege of being allowed to work with the government of Ukraine. Both the team and I are incredibly humbled for this privilege. As we heard yesterday, Ukraine is facing an unprecedented challenge in mine action with a huge impact, not just in Ukraine, but across the world. At the same time, we also have unprecedented opportunities for innovation in mine action with a number of new technologies coming in and becoming available. With that in mind, we are very privileged to work with the government of Ukraine on exploring how we can evolve the institutional ecosystem and apply innovation there as well, in order to make it easier to bring in innovation, easier to respond to the scale of the challenge. With that in mind, I know my colleagues have spoken to a number of you, but if any of you are interested to provide input to that process, please reach out to myself or my colleague Edmund. Very, very happy to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stefan, for giving an overview of sort of different ways in which organizations can contribute. We do have a few minutes left, so I am going to open the floor. There are microphones going around. Are there any? I see a question over there. When you ask a question, could you please give your name and which organization you work for? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rory. And thank you so much to the panelists for their insights. My name is Roxana Boboliku. I work for the Danish Refugee Council in Ukraine. We are also a partner working with the Ukrainian government to do humanitarian demining integrated into broader economic recovery. And I have a question because we've mentioned a few times the increase from only 6 operators last year to 56 yesterday, 57 today, which is fantastic. We need all the support we can get. My question regards quality management. And it's probably for Ruslan or Ihor. Are there plans to scale up the quality management capacity to keep up with the increasing number of operators? And is there any kind of technical support or other forms of support that partners might be able to provide in that sense? Thank you.
So, I mean, start with Igor, I suppose, and then maybe supplement by Ruslan.
Yeah, it's not issue. We named it bottleneck. It will real bottleneck when we will give a lot of work for our operators, and we will need a lot of activities to quality control. We identified that issue and try to raising our capacity to quality control with our existing center, and thinking about probably we will need one more body who will provide quality control. But main focus is raising capacity of existing centers that right now doing that quality control.
Thank you very much, Igor. Ruslan, do you want to supplement that, complement that?
Також я хотів додати, що
Yes, indeed. I also would like to add to this matter because obviously, as you noticed, the number of operators is increasing. That means we do need more units, we do need more devices and all the necessary equipment. And we are working in that direction with our international partners so that they could provide us necessary support. And as it's already been mentioned by Igor, we are considering opening another center. We've also opened already a new center with regard to the improvement of qualification in this area. And as I've already mentioned, we work hard with our international partners. We've just had negotiations with Howard Foundation and other trusts, and they've all assured us that they are going to help us, especially with equipment, just to make sure that we can work efficiently and that we can ensure quality control. Thank you.
Roxana, answers your question? Good. So yes, it's recognized and in hand. I have one more question over here. Madam, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you to all of you on the panel for very important information about how the demining is developing. My name is Margot Wallström. I've been co-chairing an international working group on the environmental consequences of the war. And of course, that covers, that's writ large. But I wanted to ask whether any one of you could comment on exactly that. Can you, for example, trace the impact of toxic substances on the quality of soil or sort of the environmental consequences of demining? Because that might also be a factor to look at. And I will speak later on in a parallel panel.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to hand over to, I think Igor is probably the best one to that. Do you want to jump in on that, Richard, afterwards?
Yep.
Igor first.
Thank you for that great question. And we can start another discussion for hours and hours about prioritization system, how we will build prioritization in Ukraine. And if super shortly, we want we're in a stage of development system where we will make a list of priority in the different areas. What should we clear in the first time, second time, where we will create some national park of closed type. But how it will work? It will connect three different dimension or criteria, and basis criteria. It will criteria of defense and influence that area for our defense capacity. It will basis, and it will means how many time we will need to clear that area, how many unexploded ordnance that area, should we or shouldn't do some clearance in that area. And after that, we will connect three additional factors. First of all, it's environment, economical, and social impact. And big challenge right now, it's build that not formula, that principle how we will calculate influence on, of that part. Because if we will focus just for environment, we will lose social and economical impact. If we will focus just for economical impact, we will lose environment and social. We try find that balance. We will test that approach in the Kharkiv region together with different NGOs, government bodies, and company named Palantir together, because it will about big data, and we will need to work with not big, super huge databases. But main task is not technological restriction. Main task for us is find right formula how we will connect the three absolutely different impact, ecological, environment impact, social impact, and economical.
Yeah, I'll be really quick. I didn't get into the specific details of what we're doing because we had a side event yesterday, so I didn't really want to explore it. But I mean, in short, you know, there's three phases to what we're doing in our partnership with FAO and FSD and the government. We mark and map, then we clear, we demine, clear, and then we have a livelihoods piece of it where we're investing in farmers, both, you know, let's just say 300 hectares and down. So household level and farm level. And then because we have a partnership with FAO, we have a soil science piece of it. So we're really trying to kind of focus on areas where we can get the most productive value out of where we focus our limited resources on it. We're hopeful that Igor and the government is going to duplicate this, because there's also plans on the part of the government to roll this out, you know, once it can go to scale. So that's kind of the general approach to it. So that's why it makes sense for us to have this kind of partnership with our sister agency, FAO, and then FSD on the demining part of it.
We will not duplicate, we will use your data.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap it up there. I'm afraid there's no more time for questions. I think it's been an excellent panel. It really has demonstrated how the strategy and the framework established does allow for work by a multitude of actors with a multitude of actors in Ukraine, and is really driving progress. Thank you so much to the panelists. That's the end. Thanks a lot.